soul food is for the soul. It may not be for the body, but it is for the soul. Like, it's that comfort food. It's that food that you need sometimes. Hey y'all, welcome back to Things Come Together, where we talk about the history of soul food and how we made magic out of our toughest moments. And good morning, sunshine. First, let me say, make sure y'all subscribe to the channel to make sure that you get an update as soon as I drop a new episode. And also, it helps the episodes get to more people too. So, help me, help you, help me, help you, But yes, for good morning, sunshine, I'm feeling good. I'm not gonna hold y'all. I have been very tired and exhausted. And I feel like this year, I came into it very with a restful energy and not wanting to put too much energy into this new year, right off the bat with all of the New Year's resolutions and stuff like that. But 2025 has been kind of kicking tail so far. It's been kind of kicking tail. But the good thing about it is that it's not it hasn't really changed my spirit or made me down or anything like that. It's kind of okay, it's that 2025 throwing a few punches, but we punching back. I'm punching back. So I have had to sit with myself and really realize dang, this year has been kind of exhausting so far, which is interesting because, I've also been seeing a lot of people say January has been the longest month so far, or the longest year. So I could definitely feel that too. And it's been interesting too because, I rested into the new year, and then my cycle came on the third day. So, there's always some, emotional changes around that time. And then I got this inkling to do a juice fast. So I did a 3-day juice fast. And then within a few days of me finishing the juice fast, I ended up getting that stomach bug that's been going around. So then I was out for a little bit from that. But I do feel like the juice fast helped me with that because I was only down for a day and a half with that. And then right after that, I started having to get ready because I was representing myself in court, in divorce court, which is I was nervous about it. And I'm glad that my mother was there because she, at the end of it, she was you did good. So that helped me calm my nerves about the whole situation. But that was a very nerve-wracking process, and I'm glad that part of it is over with. We still have to get the ruling, but at least that part of it is over with. So I feel that was had me in a space for a little bit. And it's interesting too because people would ask me this has been going on for at least 2.5 years. So people would ask me do you feel like the divorce is affecting you? And I would always say no. And I had to come to realize that I feel it has been, the meme of the dog sitting in fire or how they talk about how I think a lobster or frogs or one of those two, maybe both, can be in a boiling pot and they don't know that it's too hot until it's too late. I feel it was a little bit of that going on with the situation because I never really felt it was really bothering me. But the more I think about it, I'm kind of this has been a heavy, very emotional roller coaster process. And even when I decided that I was going to move forward without a lawyer, it was I got to do what I got to do. I done spent too much money on these lawyers at this point, and we still ain't got no divorce. So I got to do what I got to do. But it was a task. It was definitely a task. But like I said, I'm glad that part of it is over with. And then, January, it really came through swinging. Had the nerve to get my cycle again before the month was over. So January is just hold on to your horses. Which obviously this new federal administration is also not helping things. So that's why it's really been very important for me to check out when I need to rest, lots and lots and lots and lots of rest, pacing myself. I also have this event that I'm preparing for, which will be happening the same day actually that this episode will drop. So, it's just it's a lot of things lining up for this year so far. And I feel I've been doing a good job of staying on top of everything, but also pacing myself, making sure that I'm getting enough rest in the meantime and in between time. So long story short, that's how I'm doing. I'm a little tired, but my spirits are still high. So a win is a win. A win is a win. I'll take the wins where I can get them. And for how do we get here? Y'all saw today's episode is about hush puppies, Johnny cakes, hot water cornbread, buttermilk cornbread, and just like cornmeal all together. So we're going to talk a lot of things, cornmeal and corn. I mentioned when we did the cornbread dressing that I wanted to do a separate episode on corn altogether. And it's interesting because I did not think about how important cornmeal, cornbread was to the Black American diet. And y'all, I finished my book, High on the Hog. And, I really have to give Dr. Jessica B. Harris her flowers. This book, I talked about this before and I'll repeat it again. It's really a labor of love. You could tell that she put a lot of love and intention in this book. And so I definitely got to shout her out again. And, one of the things that I did not anticipate before I read this book, she talked about two things that were really interesting as far as diet, both while enslaved people were being brought from Africa, or kidnapped rather, from Africa to the so-called New World, and also the diet once enslaved Africans got to the New World. So in the case of cornmeal, that was a big part of the rations that enslaved people got, cornmeal and pork. So that's why, again, I think also we have so many different variations of meals that include cornmeal, because it's okay, if you're getting that every week, then you don't want to eat the same thing every day, every week. So it's okay, well, this week we're going to have cornbread. Next week we're going to have Kush. The next week after that, we're going to have some Johnny cakes. So I feel that had a lot to do with why there's so many different dishes within African American and Black cuisine that includes cornmeal. So that was just really interesting. I had no idea. It actually never dawned on me what people ate, specifically what people ate. I mean, we know that they always talk about the scraps and stuff like that. And, like I said, they were able to get greens because they had their own gardens and things like that. But as far as what they got directly from the enslavers, it would have definitely been corn and pork. And she also talks about how, if there was a nice enslaver, then they would give them the actual cornmeal. But in some cases, there were times or some plantations where the enslaved people would only get the corn. And so after they finished in the fields, they would still have to go to a mill and get that corn ground up to even get the cornmeal. So, it was really interesting. And even on the piece around the trip to the Americas, she also talks about how a lot of the diet during that time was watermelon and sorghum, which is a grain that's native to Africa. And again, never thought about it. I never in a million years thought about what people ate while they were on slave ships, but watermelon and sorghum were two of the big things. And she also talks about rum was a big thing too. So on the journey to the Americas, and then also sometimes they might get rum while being enslaved as well, on the actual plantations. Once they were on the plantation, it was more of a holiday thing that they would get, or if they weren't feeling well, a lot of times they would drink rum as well. And so that's also why they kept it on the slave ships, because again, close quarters, people packed closely together. A lot of times people would get sick, and so rum was one of the things that people would take when they got sick. So it was a lot of good information in here. And even that piece about the watermelon, I think is just so, it made me think, because it's they try to make all of these stereotypes about Black people and watermelon, but y'all the ones that pushed it on us. Y'all the ones that made sure that, or let me say Europeans, enslavers, are the people who put that stereotype on Africans from the beginning. I mean, watermelon is native to Africa, so of course we were already eating it. But the way that it became such a staple was through that journey from Africa to the Americas. So that was something interesting to think about too. in the case of Hushpuppies, I'm sure people have heard that piece around that a lot of times when enslaved people were running away to freedom, they would drop Hushpuppies along the trail to distract the dogs that enslavers would use to find and catch enslaved people. So that's like the history behind Hushpuppies. And then Johnny cakes and hot water cornbread, those originally came from native indigenous people to the Americas. I talked about this a little bit on the episode with the cornbread dressing, which was like, y'all, why was Aztecs cutting up? Like, why was that catching me up so bad? I don't know if that's So the Mayans and the Aztecs were the first people to like ground corn and use it for tortillas. And I also saw that corn specifically originated in Mexico. That's what the internet said. But we definitely know it was somewhere in the Americas. So the Mayans and the Aztecs grind up the corn to get the cornmeal to make tortillas. So Johnny cakes came from a tribe called the Shawnee tribe. And it's believed that the original name for Johnny cakes was actually Shawnee cakes, and that probably the Europeans mispronounced it and somehow it became Johnny cakes. There's also a word in the indigenous culture called Johnnikin or Johnnykin. Please excuse me if I'm not pronouncing that right. But that actual word means corn cake, which again, Johnny cake, Shawnee cake. So there are a lot of theories about how Johnny cakes got their name, but we do know that it comes from indigenous people. And again, hot water bread is the same. Like buttermilk cornbread, that one is a little, it seems like buttermilk cornbread originates from enslaved Africans. And so basically what happened is that Europeans were already making bread, but their bread already included, or it mostly included wheat or flour, like regular flour. So the corn was used as a substitute, and that's how it came up with cornbread. And I also saw something that said that it was a lot harder to grow wheat in the Americas, especially early on with early settlers, early colonizers. It was hard to grow. And so again, that's why substituting corn came to be a good idea. But from what I read, it seems like enslaved Africans came up with cornbread. Interestingly, though, which I didn't know, and I talked about a little of this again in the cornbread dressing episode, was that so corn itself had actually made it to Africa before the transatlantic slave trade happened. Again, the Columbian exchange, where, European colonizers and settlers travel across the world, created or brought different foods to different places. And so as early as like the 1400s, 1500s, probably really the 1500s, because I think Columbus came to the Americas in 1492. So in the 1500s, as early as the 1500s, corn was already in Africa, and Africans were using that corn. And so it's likely that the Kush, remember we talked about it originally started with couscous, but it's also likely that Africans were also making Kush with actual cornmeal in Africa before they even came to the Americas. Also, interestingly about that is that, and I didn't know this, but there is a fufu, and we talked about this with the sweet potato episode when we talked about yam. So fufu, it can be made out of a bunch of different things. It's commonly known as pounded yam, and so a lot of versions of it is made with yam. But I didn't know, but when I was looking up my research, that there is also a fufu that's made with cornmeal, and it's more popular in Eastern Africa. So countries like Kenya and Uganda and a bunch of other countries. I think I saw South Africa, a bunch of countries that's more on the eastern side, but also I guess southeast as well. I did see there's a tribe called Ewe. And again, forgive me if I'm not pronouncing that right, but there is a tribe called Ewe that's in West Africa. And it was across places like Togo, Benin, Nigeria, Ghana, that also makes the cornmeal fufu. I know in Uganda it's called Ugali, and I think in Kenya it's called Ugali too. So I had no idea that there was a fufu with cornmeal, but it's interesting because, and I'm gonna find his name and I'm gonna say it next time. There's this famous cook from Kenya. I think he was like an Olympian at some point too, and he cooks outdoors, and he'll like cook for different groups of people sometimes, or he'll just cook for himself. But he'll make a whole meal outdoors. And I had saw a video of his that was using a fufu. Like, it's when you mix it up, they mix it up and pound it. And so I saw him making something that looked close to what I've seen, like pounded yam, but it was yellow, and I had never seen it before. I didn't know what it was, but come to find out that that's what it was. It was ugali. And so I even went back to his page. I'm like, I know I've seen this before, and it's exactly what he said in the caption, like called it ugali and everything. So that was really interesting to see. And you know, we don't get a lot of history from Eastern Africa when we think about the slave trade. So it's just very interesting to see that connection as well. You know, I mean, Europeans did colonize most of Africa, all but Ethiopia, so it makes sense. Trying to see. Oh, I wanted to give some more highlights from the book. It was a few things in here. I want to explore a lot of these things as we move forward, but it was a few things that I wanted to touch on as well. So one really interesting thing that she talked about in here that makes a lot of sense that I never thought about is that, you know how in the South, it's like we talk a lot about manners and the politeness and like Southern hospitality. And it makes sense. I don't know why I never considered it before, but when she said, I was like, wow, like I never thought about that before. But she talks about how that culture in the South is really coming from African culture. And when she said it, it made so much sense because for instance, in Nigeria and Yoruba culture, there's so much importance on like respect and culture and like the way that you do things. So like when I went there, I went to go meet some elders and we kneeled to greet them, you know, and even if you don't do like a full kneel, you'll at least bow like when you meet your elders. And so women typically, like if you do a full greeting, you'll typically kneel, and men, they like lie down on the ground as a greeting. And again, at the very least, like in America, a lot of times I'll see like you just do like a bow. It's not like a full kneel or laying down on the ground. So that's African culture. And like every tribe has their different ways of like greetings and stuff like that. But there's definitely like a high importance put on how you like engage with people, especially like your elders. And it was interesting, like it was basically saying like that type of behavior definitely didn't come from like the British. And so again, I never thought about that before, but she's making the case that like the reason why the South is so polite and like that's so much of the fabric of Southern culture is because of African influence. She also talks about food as politics, which in theory, I understood already, but I've just never heard it talked about like this. And so it was really interesting of how she would talk about how like people who ate a more soul food diet were more like about like more honoring basically the African American culture, Black culture in America, you know. But there also was a lot of people who would try to move away from the soul food diet and eat more like European style food. And so that kind of talked about what their politics might be. She also talks about the nation in here and how they try to eat a very clean diet as well. But it was also kind of mixed. So, you know, they might eat the fried chicken, but they didn't eat the pork. And again, remember, pork was a part of the rations that enslaved Africans got. And so it was a lot about like that mix. You might have some soul food pieces, but again, you don't have that pork. And they also will talk about, you know, like eating slave food and things like that. And she also talks about the bean pie in here and how the Nation of Islam created the bean pie. And I've seen a video about it that's basically talked about, I can't remember the exact like category of food, but I don't know if they were saying like bean pie is like the only Black created, like not African but Black American created dessert or something like that. But it's something very distinct about the bean pie and how it was created by Black people, basically. But again, we see the guys with the bow ties on at the corner, and they'll be selling the papers. And I remember this one guy, he stopped me one time. He's like, yeah, I want you to read such and such page. And that page was about the book Eat to Live. And so there's a lot in the Nation of Islam that's about diet as a part of like your lifestyle and like your religious beliefs as well. So she talked about that. She talked about people who are go towards more of a vegan vegetarian lifestyle as well. She talked about people who incorporate more traditional African dishes in their food. So it's interesting how she was basically saying like sometimes people could be judged based on the way that they ate, and like you could tell some things about people's politics based on how they ate, which I definitely agree with, because once I started to become more political, my diet changed a lot. I definitely cleaned up my diet a lot. But again, y'all know I'm a Southern pescatarian. So it's like, yeah, I'm not going to go and buy a piece of chicken or a piece of pork. But if I go somewhere and there's something cooked, with a little ham hock in it, I'm going to eat it. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to eat it. It is what it is, okay? My granny about to be 90 years old and she still eat pork, okay? She eat almost every part of the pork you can think of. I definitely agree with that as well. And also, the other important thing that I got out of this book is that like the very last chapter talks about like well-known modern famous cooks, Black famous cooks. And to me, honestly, like the whole like chef notoriety world is so strange to me, because I remember like maybe 3 years ago, there was this chef here in Chicago who became known for being like the first Black chef to have a Michelin star or something like that. I don't know if it was specifically in Chicago or across the country or what. And they just sounded so ridiculous to me, because I'm just like, who cooked better than us here? Like, come on now. Like, let's be real. But again, it's not our awards. So, it's based on a different group's criteria of what makes something quality food. But it's just like, come on now. It's really interesting. It's very wild to me that like all of the things that created this country was done by Black people, and yet today the same Black people don't get the recognition. It's very strange to me. But she spends a lot of time talking about like Black famous cooks basically, and it's been interesting because I feel like I'm looking forward to getting more into the culinary world, and I feel like I'm going to find community there, which feels like exciting for me because, again, y'all know I have had so many community shifts lately. I'm sure I'm going to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. But there's a cook named Edna Lewis. She's no longer alive, but she talked about her and how basically she's the mother of farm to table cuisine. And it's so interesting because a lot of times we think about farm to table, of course, we think about white people. But no, this is a Black woman. She was from Virginia, and she was all about fresh quality ingredients. Like that was her big thing. And I watched a video. There's this series, like it's like a short doc series about her, and it's on YouTube. I think it's called Finding Edna. And it talked about how like she had a family member on there. I think it was a niece that she had helped her write her recipes for her cookbooks. And her niece talked about how, she would say when she was in the kitchen, she felt like her ancestors were with her in the kitchen. And I really relate to that. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling like I'm finding my people. Like I'm really excited to get deeper into the culinary world. She also talks about a woman named Sylvia. What? Let me get her name right, because I ain't gonna mess it up. I'm not gonna mess it up. Okay, Sylvia Woods. Her name is Sylvia Woods, and she actually, like, you can see her stuff in stores. She has definitely hot sauces, barbecue sauces. I think she has cornbread mixes too. I think Sylvia Woods is also passed now, but she started her restaurant in Harlem. She actually started as a cook in another person's restaurant, and that person defaulted on a loan, and the person who owned the property asked her if she wanted to open up a restaurant in that space, and so she did. And it's a very famous restaurant. Like, I looked it up. It seemed like people love the restaurant. It's a classic Black restaurant in Harlem. And she started to create products as well. So I like really resonated with those two women especially. And it's just interesting to like think about it from that perspective as well. She talks in general about, and we talked about this a little bit last time too, she talks in general about how Black people use food as a way to get into entrepreneurship and how to get economic freedom and independence. So again, you know, we never really think about it like that, but again, even today, a lot of Black restaurants or a lot of Black businesses are restaurants or provide food. So it's definitely something there. We definitely getting it out of the kitchen. And I wanted to use this topic of corn as a way to talk about dating because, you know, I'm gonna be cool on the men's. But I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I'm not gonna tell y'all no story. Like, it's been a lot of corny activity out here with these men. And so I'm like, why not talk about the men? Like, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, we talked about Hushpuppies, and it's just be like, you really be wanting to tell them, like, hush, puppy, hush. You know, I'm gonna turn over a new leaf this year. I don't know. Right now, I'm not dating at all because it's like I don't have time for the distractions. But last year was such a wild year for me dating. Like, it was such a wild year for me dating. And, you know, I put in the air that I wanted to find mutual romantic love. And I've had to realize it's me. I'm the problem. If what I found this year was mutual, I'm the problem. But not too much on me, because the problem became that when I was thinking mutual, I was thinking about who I was prior to my relationship with my ex. Okay, so I'm thinking, you know, this loving person, or even like, well, yeah, probably my ex. I was about to say even maybe like before last year, but even before him, because I've been differently dating before. Or since that relationship. But I'm thinking of the person that I was before. And so I was like, yeah, I want that kind of love. But what I got was more of like my personality now, which meant like I met a lot of guys who were like jaded, who were over the function, honestly, about dating. Probably didn't need to be dating at all, to be quite honest. And like, didn't have a lot of spark. Like, it was just like the dating was just missing a lot of spark. It was too much. Like, I met a lot of, you know, get money men, you know, people who can be providers, which, as y'all know, that is very important to me, okay? I just feel like if the relationship itself may not work out, the least you can do is like, you know, be a provider. That is the bare minimum, okay? And of course we want more than bare minimum. But like, y'all know men be insufferable. So it's like, if I have to at least suffer, okay, you can at least pay some bills. Come on now. That's not too much to ask for. Anyways. But yeah, they was just jaded, like, even like just stupid stuff, honestly. Stuff that's not even worth the conversation. And that was my biggest issue. Spending time on conversations that wasn't even worth having, okay? Dates. Something as simple as going out on a date. Sir, I don't know what we're going to do here. We can go ahead and wrap this up right now. We can call it quits, because if I got to go back and forth with you about going on a date, there's nothing else for us to talk about. And to be honest, I should have known that this year last year, was going to start off rough, because so at the end of 2023, this was like a few days before the new year, I met this guy and he wanted to go out. And again, I feel like meeting people around the holidays is weird, because it's like, it's the timing is weird. The timing is very weird. It's not a lot of time. You got the holidays, like, you know. So we met and we was like, okay, we're gonna go out. He wanted to go out that weekend or something, but I started doing something where, because I think last year the New Year's fell on a weekend or something like that. And I started doing something where I like to actually be at home at the New Year's. Like this year I ended up going out, but it was after midnight, after the countdown. So I like to be in my house and like, you know, pray and like just put good energy into the year, like be by myself. But this year I wanted to go out, so I just waited until I did that and then went out. But last year I stayed in, like I did not go out at all. And so we made plans that we were supposed to go to brunch on the 1st, because I don't know where it came from, but for some reason on the 1st, people go to brunch. So that was our plan. But that day, like the day of New Year's Eve, he called me and he was like, oh, like, you know, come out, like you want to come out, da, da, da. And I was like, no, I don't want to go out. Like I'm going to be in my house. Like 2023 was such a crazy year for me. And, you know, I like started getting back into my spirituality and I was just like, I want to spend this time with God. Like I want to be intentional about it. So I said no. So then we had plans, but the next day, because he actually did end up going out, he's like, oh, I'm not feeling well. Like, can we reschedule? But I'm just not with it. This, like, last year I just wasn't with a lot of stuff. So I'm like, no, we can't. And I blocked him because you knew we had plans. You went out. And again, what I'm about to say is probably giving benefit of the doubt, even though I did not give him actually benefit of the doubt. But the thing is, like, okay, it's New Year's Eve, you went out, you're probably tired. That's probably a legit thing. But if you knew we was making plans, then you should have did whatever you needed to do to make sure that you was ready that next day. So I said, no, I'm not going nowhere with you. And I blocked him, like, we not starting off like this. So I ended up still going to brunch because I'm like, that's what I planned on doing today. So that's what I did. But the problem therein lied. I called the old flame, spin the block, which really I wasn't even trying to spin the block. But that was where the problem lied, because I was in my feelings about the guy who canceled. So then once I called this person back who was like blowing up my phone, and he like popped up at the brunch spot. And it was kind of like I just felt like I wanted to be around somebody. That's really what it was. I felt like I wanted to be around somebody. So we hung out. He came to my place. We hung out. Then all of a sudden, he's starting to like play house. Like he's starting trying to play house. You know what I'm saying? Trying to, you know, cozy himself up in my place. And it lasted for like a week and a half before I was like, nah, like you gotta go. Because again, like I wasn't getting nothing out of the situation. Like you come in here, there's food, you're comfortable here, da 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 da. And anytime I asked him to do something, anytime I asked him for anything, it was like this big ordeal. Like one day he came, and it could be anything. It could be monetary or it could be non-monetary. But anything I asked him was like such a big deal. Like one day I was like, we was going grocery shopping. He was going to give me money to go grocery shopping, basically. And I asked him, like, okay, well, can you take me? And he's like, nah, like I don't want to do that. Like, but I can just give you the card. You in here, I'm doing the majority of the cooking. Like, the least you could do is take me to the grocery store. The least you could do is take me to the grocery store. So it was just small stuff like that. Or like me asking him to get us some food. Like he would get it, but it just would be like, you know how they say you're supposed to be a cheerful giver? Like he was not a cheerful giver at all. So that's why I'm like, you can't come in here. Like you cannot come in here. This is my place of peace. And you ain't about to be messing it up. So I don't know what you're going to do, but go figure it out, basically. And we didn't really talk after that. And every now and then, this was like before May, maybe. Before May, I called him twice. And again, you know, it takes me some time. It takes time for things to get into my mind. But it was 2 other times that I called him, asking him for a favor. And like, again, he act like I owed him something, because I was asking him for a favor. Never mind, don't worry about it. Or like the first time he canceled, like he said he was going to do it, and then the next day gave me an excuse that I knew he wasn't telling the truth. But it didn't even matter. I'm just like, okay, well, I'm just not about to be bothered with you. That's just kind of how it is. So that was like my first dating experience. barely of last year. So that should have been an indication of what the year to come was going to be. But it just was a snowball. It just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So it was some people in between that. So then it was this guy. We was talking on the phone, getting to know each other. We seemed cool. We had a good first conversation. Then at the end of the conversation, he hit me with oh yeah, like we should make time to see each other. And it's like, oh yeah, we should go get smoothies. Now, usually, I would have said no to something like that. I would have said absolutely not. But it was something about the way that he lined it up. Like, he lined it up to, he got me comfortable. So, but I still saw the place. So I'm like, okay, well, we can go get smoothies, but we still gonna get something to eat. Like, I like to eat, okay? Like, I like to eat. I don't, listen, we can do anything. We come up with any plan you gonna come up with, but at some point we going to get some food, okay? So, okay, that's the plan. We supposed to meet, smoothies, get food, whatever. But because we're not going on a real date, I'm not getting dressed. Like, I put a hair wrap on and some workout clothes because I'm not about to get dressed when we going to get smoothies. So he comes, and it was even like some funny business. What I found too is last year I met a lot of men who was like trying to test me type of thing, which like, do not try to test me because I'm going to fail. Whatever test you put in front of me, I'm going to fail because I really don't care that much. I really don't. Like, I feel like all women should feel this way, but like, you trying to impress me. I'm not trying to impress you. Just so that we're clear here. But anyway, so he's like, I'm here. I come outside. I see this like Corvette Stingray. It's a very nice car. I thought for 2.5 seconds, I'm like, should I go back in this house and put my wig on? You know what I'm saying? Put a little energy into it. And in my head, I'm like, no, we still going to get smoothies. So hair wrap it is, So, we get in the car. It's fine. Like, it's fine. It's very, I don't know. My dating experiences are very interesting because I just date differently now. I mean, for some people, they probably been doing this, but like me now, like I don't move. Like if you don't open the car door for me and stuff like that, like I'm just going to stand there and look at you until you do it. Cause like, that's how you should be treating a woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just going to, if we walking towards the door and you don't already go and get it, which like you should be doing that anyway, I'm just going to stand there and wait for you to open it because what are we doing here? So there was a few conversations about that. Like when I'm getting into the car, I open my own car door, but like getting out, no, you're going to come around and open the door for me basically. So we had a few conversations about that. We go get the smoothie. Then we go get some food. And then I'm like, let's go to the lakefront or whatever. So we go on this walk along the lakefront. And the boy was so tired, like, you might as well have just taken me to a regular sit-down date, sir. Like, I done ran you all around this little area. Like, you could have just took me to a sit-down restaurant and it would have been a lot easier, basically. But so this was our first meeting, and I kept telling him like it's not a date, like this is cool, we got to know each other, but this is not a date. And he kept being like, well, I just beg to differ, I don't care. I said this is not a date. Like when you make some intentional plans for me to get dressed and go out and go sit down with you and have a meal, that is when there will be a date. Until then, we're just getting to know each other. So he he asked me while we was walking along the lake, he was like, oh, like, what you doing later? I was telling him, oh, I'm going to work. He's like, oh, well, how much do you make? Like, I'll just pay you that so you can come, like, out with me. And I'm like, nah, like, we could do that another time. And honestly, that's where I made my first mistake. Because, in my mind, I'm thinking, like, I don't want that to become a habit. Like, I don't want to get off my cue. I don't want to get too comfortable, basically. But, like, that's what men are here for. That is what men are here for. And I was like working Uber at the time. So it's like, whenever I wanted to get back to Uber, I can always do that. So like, if you want to pay me for my time, do that. But I'm thinking in my mind, like, nah, like I ain't trying to get too comfortable. Like I'm trying to stay on my P's and Q's kind of thing, basically. Which I guess in the long run is smart. But also it's just like, why wouldn't I let that man pay for my time? Like, he should have paid for my time from the very beginning. He should have been paying for all the time that I wasted on him, but neither here nor there. So That day, that was the end of that. The next day, we made plans to go to a festival. The next day, he called me talking about some, which I think he was already telling me he had to get some work done on his house. I don't remember. But either way, the next day, he called me talking about, oh yeah, they have to come do the work on my house. And like, I need to go do something with my mother. So I'm not going to be able to go to the festival, but I can come stop by and see you. So he gets here and I don't come outside because it's like, that wasn't our plan for the day. And also, you're not about to just be popping up at my house. Like, either we're going to make plans to go somewhere, or we're not going to see each other, because I've already done the, chill, let's get to know each other date, which is, again, why I don't like doing stuff like that, because it's like, it sets the tone. Now you thinking you just about to be popping in my house. No, you're not. No, you're not. So obviously he was in his feelings that I didn't come outside that day. So it just never really recovered after that. And this was also a recurring thing last year of like, I always be like trying to give people a chance. Like, I have my way about men, but I still give them more chances than I should. And that be my problem with them. Like, that is the exact problem. And it's why I'm completely different now. It's like, ain't no chances. Don't nobody get no chances no more, because y'all done used all your chances up. But either way, me and this person, we keep talking. So then it becomes like a back and forth of him suggesting stuff that I don't want to do, like go to the movies. I do not like going to the movies as a date, especially for the first 3 dates, because we ain't doing nothing but looking at a screen. Like, this is not a date. It's not a date. So he's suggesting that we go to the movies. I don't want to do that. He also suggested that we go to a casino. I don't like casinos. Like, I've never been to a casino, and honestly, I probably will die having never went to a casino, because I don't want to go to the casino. I don't want to lose no money. And it wasn't even going to be my money, but I still don't want to be in no casino. Like, you could just give me money. Like, we don't have to go to the casino, basically. But my point for that was, like, he wanted to go out in Indiana. I was even going to go. I was like, well, let's go to the one downtown. He's like, he wanted me to drive out to him to go. No, like, I don't want to put no effort into this, because you ain't putting no effort into it either. So why am I coming out to you? That's number one. Number two, I was telling him, like, I can't go to casinos in Indiana because they can smoke inside, and I can't be around smoke because of asthma. So there's that. Then he would be trying to like just come, like spend time at each other's house. And I don't spend time at nobody's house, and I don't have nobody at my house unless I know I actually like them, because we grown, okay? And grown people do grown things when they're by themselves. So like, ain't no need for you to be in my house or me to be in your house. And we don't even know each other. We don't know each other. We don't know if we like each other. You ain't did nothing to get no privileges. So ain't no use to me coming to your house. Ain't no use to you coming to my house. So it just became this back and forth. So around the last time that we had conversation with each other, he's like still pressing the whole like, oh, like, let me come to your house, basically. And it's like explicitly talking about sex at this point. And I started asking him, like, why are you so pressed for sex? Like, you're a successful man. He was a truck driver. You're a successful man. You should not have no problems having sex with nobody. So, like, why you keep pressing me? He's like, well, I don't have problems having sex. I just want to have sex with you. You can't want to have sex with me because you ain't did nothing. You've done absolutely nothing. Nothing. So you can't want to have sex with me. So I keep pressing him, like, you shouldn't have to worry about sex with me. You shouldn't have to be pressed like that. Why does man send me a video of him having sex with another woman? Just to show me that he's not pressed. Okay? Unsolicited video of him having sex with another woman. Which is like, was so embarrassing. Like, one, it was very off-putting for me personally. But two, it was just so like off-putting in general. Is because like, why are you sending videos of yourself having sex with another person? I'm sure this woman did not give you permission to send this video. I'm sure she didn't. I'm sure she don't know that you sending videos of her to other people. And also, like, I have a Galaxy. And so when I get videos from iPhones, it looks like the videos from the 99s and the 2000s. Like, this pixelated video, you're not proving your point, sir. It looks like you haven't had sex since the 2000s. So what is the purpose? What is the purpose? And also, like, why are you in your feelings to the point that you got to do something like that in the first place? And y'all really be coming at women about how we talk about men, but this is the stuff that men do. Like, it be stories that I be telling about situations with men that people be shocked, like literally shocked and appalled of like, I can't believe nobody did or something like that. Or like, especially when you talk to another man, they be like, oh no, like the people I know would never do that. You don't know these people, okay? The friend that you got is not the friend that woman is dating. Trust and believe, okay? Is she dating the real person, okay? You meeting the facade person. So what you think a man would not do, trust me, he's doing it over and over again. So now I have to embarrass this man and like really talk to him in a way that I really don't like talking to people, but it's like you pushed it, sir. You pushed it. And you know, he has some parental issues, you know, and he was raised by his grandmother, and I had to tell him, like, which, like, shout out to Granny. This is not a diss to her, but it's just, I had to tell him, I could tell that you have not been raised, and that's why I had patience with you. But at this point, my patience with you is gone. Like, don't contact me again. Like, don't ever send a video of you having sex with another person to anybody, because I'm sure she did not give you consent to send that video to nobody. Like, just embarrassing. Like, do you know that this man had the nerve? Again, this is around May, June. Do you know that this man had the nerve to try to spin the block at the end of the year? Sir, what do we have to talk about? What could we possibly have to talk about? This man hit me up on WhatsApp. He hit me up on regular phone. And then on WhatsApp, he gonna show, oh, I called you by mistake. No, you didn't. You called me on purpose. I don't know why. I have no idea why you called me, but you called me on purpose. We don't got nothing to talk about, because God forbid, like, I don't do no recording type of stuff for that very reason, because, like, God forbid somebody send anything of me to somebody else. But it's like, why would you think I would be intimate with you or do anything with you so that then you could take something of me and go show it to somebody else for what, spite? Or just for fun? No, we don't have nothing to talk about. Like, don't think of me. Like, that's really how I feel. Like, just don't even think about me, basically. And so then there was that situation. And, like, honestly, there are just multiple, like, more and more situations. I went out with a Jamaican. And that's it. That's the story. That is it. For the sake of first, second, and third hand embarrassment, I will not tell that story, okay? But just know what the internet says is true, you know? Just cut your losses. Just don't, you know, I'm sure they're great people. I'm sure Jamaican men are great people. I do not recommend dating them at all. That poor man, another one I had to tell about himself. And the way that I have had to talk to people, men, this last year, like, I hate that I've had to go to the levels that I've had to go to. But it's like, you pushing me. Like, now I'm going to really have to get on your tail, because, like, is you cool? So, yeah, that poor man, I'm sure he's still reflecting on some of the things that I had to tell him. But that was another one, just like doing silly stuff, trying to test me, that type of stuff. Like, do not test me. I don't recommend that any man test any woman, but definitely don't test me, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to fail miserably, fail with flying colors, okay? So don't test me. Do not do that. But yeah, just a bunch of not great dating experiences. And what I've learned is that I do not need mutual love. I don't need mutual romantic love. I need complementary romantic love. Like, where I'm lacking, you're strong. Where you're strong, or where I'm strong, you may be lacking. Like, that's what I need in my life. I don't need mutual, because I've been through too much stuff to, like, come to love with open arms. I really have. And it is going to take somebody who still has that in them to be able to, like, connect with me, because I'm already looking at you like, so what you about? Like, what's your thing? Like, what headache are you bringing to the world? Which, like, again, is also why I'm not dating right now, because it's like that's not a good energy to bring to a relationship either. So it's like I actually don't really need to be doing a lot of dating right now anyway. Granted, I don't think I will never speak negatively on my future, but it's like I don't know if I'm in a space to like come with that open arms energy. I'll never say never. God can do anything. Okay, God can do anything, so I'll never say never. But I definitely be like looking. I be waiting at the door for people now. Like, what you about to be about? What's your thing, basically? So I definitely need a man who is not jaded, who is ready to like pour into a person. And that's the thing about me. Like, I'm a natural lover. So even though I'm looking at the door like, what you about? I'm still coming with good energy. And it's like, if I felt like I could trust someone, and that's really what it is. If I felt like if a person showed me that they could be trusted, then I would naturally fall into my loving, guards down self. But it's like, you already showing me stuff that like, I don't need to let my guards down with you. But the way that it works out is that I feel like I'm not wasting time with people no more. Like I've met like maybe 3 or 4 people this year so far. I've cut them all off because it's like I could see like this is not gonna work. One man, so I got me a YN, y'all. I had got me a YN. You know, I'm just trying different stuff basically. Okay, this man, he was 25. And he had bad communication skills. Like, we went on a really nice first date, and it was cool. But to be fair, I think he was dealing with like maybe like some depressive energy, things like that, because he would be saying to me like, oh yeah, like I really want us to like get to know each other and talk to you soon and that kind of stuff. But then I would not hear from him. And I was talking to my therapist, and she was saying like, well, if that's not like, if a man reaching out to you is not your priority, like you should just be comfortable reaching out to him. So I did, even though in general, that's not my thing. Like, I just feel like a man should be reaching out to a woman, or just a man should be reaching out to his person. Like, bring energy. Like, that's what I need. I need energy. You need to bring it. But I, put my pride aside, and I called him, and he didn't answer. But yet, a few days ago, you was telling me that you wanted us to talk again soon. No problem. Shortly after that, I had a dream that I was sitting at a man's table talking to his mama about him. I blocked that young man because I don't need that kind of sorcery in my life. I don't need to be sitting at nobody's mama table talking to her about her son. I don't need that in my life. God forbid that I ever be in a situation like that. So God bless you. Whatever you got going on, sir, God bless you. I don't want no price of that. I don't want none energy of that. So, I'm just focusing on myself right now. I'm focused on my goals. I'm focusing on what I have going on right now. And I love that for me. Like, I really love that I'm not letting the dating world like bring me down. It is what it is. God bless them. Like, the right person that is for me is going to come around. And until then, I'm gonna be doing my work. Like, I'm gonna be focusing on the stuff that I need to focus on. And it's more than enough things for me to focus on. So that's what I'm doing right now. But yeah, the cornballs. Oh Lord, help us somebody. So yeah, for don't be rude, I just feel like, obviously talking about 45, 47 is just like low hanging fruit at this point, because every day is something going on. Like, planes are crashing. It's only been 2 weeks. It's only been 2 weeks. Planes are crashing. Immigrants are being hunted down. Public benefits are being stopped. Everything is happening right now. Like, everything is happening basically. And it's not really a shocker to me. Other than the planes crashing, I pretty much 2 episodes named a lot of things that are happening. So it's like, I knew they were going to happen. I will say that I did not expect them to happen as quickly as they happen. I didn't expect all of those things to happen in the first 2 weeks, that I will say. But Susie Wiles, remember I talked about that chief of staff, Susie Wiles, her job was to make sure that everything that he wants to get done gets done. She on her job. She on her job. She probably working overtime. She might not be getting no sleep because at this rate, this is ridiculous. Okay, this is ridiculous. And I have said this twice now, and I still stand by it. Project 2025 is not important. It's not. That doesn't mean that it's not real. Of course we know it's real. Of course we know that everything that they say they want to do, they're going to try to do it. I already said that already. But it's not important because what is going to be most important is us figuring out what we're going to be doing for at least the next 4 years. Because I'm sure y'all saw that they also trying to pass a bill where he will be able to run for a third term. So there's that as well. But we on the battlefield. We are currently on the battlefield. Him talking about DEI programs, scapegoating DEI programs, okay? This is like Hitler level things that are happening right here. Everything that goes wrong in this administration is going to be blamed on DEI, okay? This is Hitler language. Now, we're on the battlefield. We don't got time to be looking at the enemy's strategy, wailing about it. If we are looking at the enemy's strategy, it needs to be, okay, the enemy about to do this how we about to play it. The enemy about to do this how we about to play it. We don't got time for the, oh my God, the enemy is doing X, Y, and Z. We don't got time for that. That's a losing strategy. You on the battlefield not even fighting. Okay? What we need to be focused on is what we about to do for the next 4 or more years. Those are the conversations that we about to have. How are we about to protect each other? Okay? How are we about to advance ourselves? That's what we need to be focused on right now. All this, he doing X, Y, and Z, we're on the battlefield and we're losing. We're losing badly, okay? So, yeah, I just want to say that. And also, take a deep breath and understand that, yes, this is a very overwhelming time for all of us. It is a very overwhelming time. I get that. It's overwhelming for me. Like, I'm going to be serious. Like, when I talked about being exhausted, like, it has been a very exhausting last 14 days. Okay? Even though I'm not tuned into a lot of it, just being on social media, seeing everybody else stuff going on, like, I'm very aware of a lot of things that are happening right now. A lot of it is very exhausting. So I get that. Even the stuff that he's doing around trans rights, queer rights, women's rights, like, it's all very exhausting. I get it. I completely get it, which is why I also encourage people to, like, check out, go do things that make us feel good. It could be anything. I love watching Love and Hip Hop. It's so funny. Sometimes people ask me, like, what reality shows are you watching? I think I have had times before where people were expecting me to say, like, Housewives and stuff like that. No, I watch Love and Hip Hop. To that point, I don't know what's going on with Love and Hip Hop Miami. It is officially a telenovela, stories, like a soap opera, and it's getting too scripted. I need y'all to bring some real life scenarios in here, because what is going on here? Trina's husband poured some pop or some type of drink on Bobby, her cousin's head. This man is a whole life street man. Pouring a drink on somebody? Come on now. Stop it. So that being said, that's how I check out. Okay. And also I want to say, like, when I'm checking out from, like, what is happening and, like, the type of strategy that I'm interested in right now, thank God that TikTok is back, okay? At least for the next month and a half. We don't know what's happening after that. Apparently, Trump still wants them to sell to an American buyer. So, like, who knows what's happening here? But at least for the next month and a half, it will be back. And, like, I really appreciate that TikTok is back, because, one, TikTok is hilarious. Y'all done came up with Him and Talk, okay? A nice little HBCU on TikTok. Which is hilarious. Apparently, like, it's starting to get social. Like, y'all see some people how to play spades or some type of, like, party going on in Atlanta. It's getting very real. Him and Talk is getting very real. And I'm not quite enrolled because, like, it's a lot going on. I'm trying to, again, focus on what I got going on. But political education, I do want to say, is very important. So I love that these spaces are happening. I'm more in the building phase. But I feel like I did see this teaching about like a black radical feminist teaching. Albeit that I didn't find it on Human Talk. I found that one on Instagram, but I just want to say that I will be there. So there are things that I do want to tap into. But I have not enrolled in Human Talk yet. I ain't gonna tell y'all no story. I'm just, I ain't even gonna audit no classes. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. But I'm gonna get the notes. Okay, I'm gonna find somebody who is in Human Talk, and I'm gonna get the notes from them. But I'm gonna tell y'all what I have been getting into on TikTok. Nutana. Are y'all plugged in with Nutana? Are y'all paying attention to Nutana? Because me, I'm deep down in the rabbit hole behind Nutana, and like I'm gonna be real with y'all, I haven't been this invested, this down bad about nothing like this since Krishan and Blueface before the baby, pre-baby, because once things started getting weird around the time that she got pregnant, I was kind of tapped out at that point. I can no longer be invested in this. But pre-baby, I was there for the Blueface and Krishan situation. I really was. I'm still rooting for Krishan. I'm still rooting for her. But this Nutana situation, I'm all the way in. It's very bad. Multiple videos at a time. This is very interesting to me. Okay, so Saucy Santana is dating Nigerian Noop. Nigerian Noop. We're gonna go with Nigerian Noop, okay? So first of all, Saucy Santana been blowing up on TikTok. Like, he's just been over there doing all kind of like funny stuff. So there's that, right? So now he got this boo over there, and they be like, streaming together a bunch. And this is so interesting to me because, one, like I said, Santana's just a funny person. But also, this Nigerian Noop is like really an anomaly because he's Nigerian and a part of a Black Greek letter organization and openly queer, which like we know that all of these intersections exist. So it's like, that's not the shocking part about it, but it doesn't usually get as much visibility because being queer and Nigerian is so-called very taboo. And being queer in a Black Greek letter organization also is so-called taboo, even though we know that there are queer people in every aspect of every life. Black life, Nigerian life, Greek letter organization life. Like, we know that they're queer people, but it's not visible. So him connecting with Saucy Santana has now made it very visible. It's just been so wild though, because Santana really been crashing out about this man, like really crashing out about him. And it's like, it's so funny because I do think like Santana do be putting some sauce on it. Like, I ain't gonna tell no story. Like, he know he got people attention. So like he is putting some sauce on it, but it's just still so funny. And so it's like, it's that part of it. Then like, I'm not gonna call her the star of the show because like it's really their thing. But one of the best supporting casts of this whole show was Carisha when she came on there and asked Santana about another one of his friends while they were streaming on there with Noop because Santana did not miss a beat with being like, who you talking about? Like, who you talking about? And she like, oh, like your little friends. He like, my only little friend is on the stream right now. Like, what is you talking about? So that part was so funny. And I feel like she was like trying to like jab at Nigerian Noop because he really be like playing on Santana's head. But I'm also saying that when I be watching the videos and I put two and two together, it really be Santana. It really be Santana flirting with other people. Like, Santana he love the men's. Like, he just love the men's, which is like, if you're going to be with him, you just got to know that. Or you just not got to be with him. But either way, so Santana be like in the field dating people, and then Noop Nigeria, he started acting, a little funny. He started getting missing. He started flirting with people. Like, then Santana be having to like go off on him. So it's just like this back and forth with them. Like, every day, half of the day, they not talking to each other, they beefing. The end of the day, they in love. Which, like, in general, I guess is how love works. I don't know. Me, I don't be for it. I just be like, listen, if you're gonna stress me out too much, you gotta go. Like that just be my energy with people. And I ain't gonna lie, like I'll go through the motions for a little bit. I will go through the motions for a little bit. But like in general, if you stress me out too bad, you just gotta go. But this has been very entertaining to watch. And like, you know, it's very like mindless watching, but based on everything that's going on in the world right now, that is exactly what I need. That is exactly what I need. So it's been very interesting watching them. I feel like Santana is coming back though. Like I saw a video, I think that was recorded or something last night where Santana was like, listen, I'm not about to keep doing this with you. Like I'm not about to keep like not blowing up your phone, but like going back and forth with you about how I'm not hearing from you. And basically like, you know, I need my man pressed, like that kind of stuff, which like I feel him. Like you do need to be on my line. Like you need to be obsessed. So I get that all together, but it's just been interesting too, because you know, like, it's like those two personas. Like when you listen to Saucy's music, it's very much like walking like a dog. But then when you see him in these relationships, you pull back the layers. Yeah, Santana, you getting a little walked. But you know, you getting your grounded. You know, it happens to the best of us. It really do. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm deep down the rabbit hole. We're going to see how this goes. At some point, I'm also going to have to check out of this rabbit hole because sometimes I be spending too much time getting caught up on what exactly is going on here. But it's very entertaining. It really is. It's funny. It's very funny. You know, Nigerian newbies get some good eye candy. It's very good eye candy. So it's been very interesting. It's interesting on so many different levels. But I will say that has been keeping me very entertained lately. And y'all, I think that's it. It's so funny because my outline and like my notes for this episode was so long, but then once I got to talking about it, it was so short. But for Greatest Place on Earth, I want to affirm everybody that's like working on their goals right now and who sees that there are different distractions going on, but we stay in focus. And I'm affirming that we're going to stay focused, that we're going to like start this year off. Like we rested, at least I did. Like I rested into the new year, but now it's like we own and we getting things done. And I'm excited. Like we got this. Distractions are going to come. Like when I was on my fast, I had a distraction during that time. But the good thing about it is that I was able, like once the distraction was gone, I was able to realize like, oh, this is a distraction. So then it put me on my P's and Q's like, okay, I'm looking for all of the distractions right now. I'm looking for all of the distractions because there's nothing's going to get me off my game right now. Nothing's going to get me off my square. So I'm like looking at all the perimeters like, where's the distraction? What's the distraction here? So I just want us to like really be very aware of like, what is our business, what is not our business, and everything that's not our business, we putting that to the side and we focusing on what we got to do right now. And I'm affirming that we're going to get it done. We're going to have a very strong first quarter. And you know, by quarter three, beginning of quarter three, into quarter two, it's going to be time. Like we're going to have our time to like breathe. You know, we're going to have our time to breathe. But right now, we own it and we getting stuff done. So I'm excited to see what comes out of this year for us. I'm excited to see what all we get accomplished in this first year or this first half of the year. Really the whole year altogether, but definitely the first half. So I'm excited. We got this, y'all. We got this. And I'm going to see y'all next time. See y'all. We don't even call these men our men. These be our friends. Never give your all to a man. You don't fall for that man. Take a trip, make him ball friend. Never date a broke man, joke man.